I did landscaping here in town, and summers in St. George suck.
110 degrees with a shovel.
I'm shoveling rocks all summer, right?
Yep.
And I had a buddy, he's like, yeah, dude, I'm going to do sales. I'm like, have fun, bro. Like, that sucks. You know, you're leaving. I'm going to stay here, go to PAL, you know, and I'm shoveling rocks, doing landscaping.
Yeah.
I have like one trip to PAL, which was cool. He comes back. I made $4,000 or $5,000 that summer. Homie, my buddy comes back and he made $40,000.
Hey everybody, welcome to Solid episode 21. I am so excited for you guys to listen to today's podcast. We have an incredible man on today, Mitch Frei, who's just going to talk to you guys about how to win in all areas of your life. You know, Mitch has been successful in his spiritual life, his business life, his family life. He's got an incredible family, incredible business, and has just been a great friend for a lot of years. And he's going to go over some things that I believe today will change your life. So please listen. I think you're going to love it. Alongside with, if you'll please make sure you're following, liking, commenting, and sharing it with people as well. And then if you'll continue to give us feedback, so many of you guys that are listening, you continue to give us feedback, and it helps us so much. We appreciate you. So thanks again for plugging into Solid. You're going to enjoy this episode. It's absolutely phenomenal. So remember, stay solid. So awesome, man. Well, appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, excited to be here. Excited for the invite, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. So I was just telling Brandon a little bit about you, but tell your story, man. I mean, you've been crushing it in business. How many years now you feel like you've been crushing
12 years in the game as far as sales.
Yeah.
And really picked it up after about my third or fourth year into it. And then realizing the potential at that time where it kind of clicked.
Yeah.
And I just kind of caught fire as far as the motivation and the obsession to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you work for Aptive, is that right?
Yes.
So how's it work? Do you own, like, are you an owner, or it's a corporation? You're a leader with inside of that?
I'm a leader with inside. I'm a partner. They just made like 6 of us partners with inside of it. Mm-hmm. And then 15% of the company is owned by the sales leadership, based off year to year production.
Volume and stuff.
Volume. So we're trying to go and to sell to a private equity within the next year or two.
Awesome.
So, which is exciting.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
15% of that will go back to the leaders.
Yeah, it'll be awesome as long as the private equity that purchases y'all doesn't get too corporate.
Yeah, 100%.
We've been through
I think that's all. I think that's our fear, is they come in and change everything.
Yeah, which, I mean, is obviously going to happen as they start protecting people's investment, right? But at the same time, there's a lot of benefits from having, big corporate money.
Yep.
Right?
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, cool, dude. So how did you get into it? How did you get into selling? Because it was pest control when you first started, right?
It was, no, I actually did alarm systems. So I had a buddy.
Okay.
I lived in Brazil for 2 years, served a mission, came back. I did landscaping here in town, and summers in St. George suck.
110 degrees with a shovel.
I'm shoveling rocks all summer, right?
Yeah.
And I had a buddy, he's like, yeah, dude, I'm going to do sales. I'm like, have fun, bro. Like, that sucks. You're leaving. I'm going to stay here, go to PAL, and I'm shoveling rocks, doing landscaping.
Yeah.
I have like one trip to PAL, which was cool. He comes back. I made $4,000 or $5,000 that summer. Homie, my buddy comes back and he made $40,000. And he lived in a new city. He's hyped. He's buying a new car. And here I am, I was happy and pissed at the same time for him, right? So, yeah, needless to say, the next summer I joined. So I'm like, first thing, it was like just stacking myself up against him.
Yeah, you're like, I can do better than you.
I'm like, oh, dude, if this guy can do it, I'm gonna go make $80,000. Like that's literally what I thought. Is looking at a couple people that I knew that did
just the mission over again, right?
Literally,
actually, probably an easier sell than the mission.
It is much easier.
Yeah.
Yes, much easier sell than the mission. A lot of the I guess, principles translate. You know, being disciplined, just doing something that's hard, that sucks in a
Consistent.
way. Being consistent
Prospecting
with it.
and meet new
So how'd you do
people,
your
build
first year out?
relationships.
Did you
I did
smoke
good.
it?
I was the top rookie. Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
yeah, I did really well. I was the top rookie. I did Vivint. I had a buddy that ended up going to Aptive, and I went to Vivint.
Yep.
And it was kind of like, all right, we'll see who shows each other up, you know? And he crushed me selling pest control.
Really?
Yes. Like he made like 100K.
Okay.
And I did decent. I made, 30, 40K.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't what I thought. It was, I don't know, expectations. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can, overall, I just didn't do as good as I wanted to do.
Were you just thinking alarms are more expensive, so I'll make more money if I sell alarms than if I sell pest control accounts?
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, more money per sale might be a little harder, but I'm going to get really good at it. And
It's a little sexier too. I mean,
yeah, it's a little sexier,
Yeah.
right?
at the beginning, I think entering in anything,
That
when
was
you
their
enter
that
into
was their
sales,
pitch
right?
to me. They're like, dude, you want to go sell bugs?
Yep.
Bug spray? Like, are you kidding me? Like, come sell our tech package.
Yeah,
the
it's pretty cool.
cameras.
Vivint's got
it's
some cool
right?
stuff, yeah.
They do. They
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
And they're crushing it right now. Like Vivint is, and kind of always has. They've been like the trailblazer of our industry.
Yeah,
for
cutting
sure.
edge.
Yeah.
No
And
question.
They're very innovative. And Todd
Yeah.
Peterson, he's awesome. And a lot of the guys over there, like Casey Bond, different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, great guys. Yeah.
Yeah, we know all those guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good people. And anyway, so I ended up switching doing pest control the next year, and I crushed it.
And that was with Aptive?
Yes, with
Okay,
Aptive.
cool.
So I crushed it. I ended up taking some buddies out there. I loved it. And alarms is amazing. There's people, and I think I do summer sales, right? So
Yep.
within this industry, you have solar now, you have pest control, you have alarm systems, there's satellite. I mean, there's so many things that people do in door to door. There's people that make $1 million in every one, right? Like you can succeed, I think, in any of them at a very high level, obviously. Big thing for me was my environment, and who I was directly working with is what changed the game for me at Aptive, and that's why I'm still here.
I would say that's what changed the games for changed the game for anybody, right? Is who
Yeah.
they surround themselves
Like
with.
legitimately, like the CEO and the president of sales, they're people that I aspire to be like
It's awesome. Why?
as humans.
What did you see in them that made you think like, man? Because I think that's a big thing especially in sales and recruiting sales guys. We used to always have this thing like ARM. Your job is to attract, retain, and then motivate people
Yes.
to go out and do it, right? So what is it that you think attracted you to those men? Like what was it about their lives or what?
Yeah, authenticity, values was a big one, and then the expectation setting was really, really good.
Do you think, like in their values, for example, were those things that they were talking about, or you just watched them live these principles and went, "These are good dudes"?
I watched.
Yeah,
Like I looked at their families, I looked at their Instagrams.
yeah, that's cool.
I just was watching how they carried themselves.
Yeah,
I watched how they dress. Like I'm looking at how they dress
yep,
and how
Lifestyle.
just lifestyle.
yeah,
And it really hit home and they're into sports. I'm a big sports guy.
yeah.
So being able to connect with me at that level, just
You
different.
see the big deer that Casey Bach kills and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Casey, I didn't work directly with Casey. I'd probably still be in Vivint if I worked directly with Casey. No, he's awesome.
That's all I got to see. I see some big horns. I'm like, I mean, what do you do? I want to do whatever you do.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
That's funny. So you see these guys, you're attracted to the lifestyle, and the industry. How did you feel about sales at that point? I mean, you're making money, but you're a little bit nervous at the beginning. So you're a little bit nervous, go from landscaping to make sale. You start making some money. Was it still uncomfortable, or were you starting to have some fun? Felt like you're developing your skills, or like how were you feeling at that point?
After my first summer, the experience was awesome. Like living in a new state.
Were you married at the time?
I was, yeah.
Okay. So did she go with you? Or
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So she always went with me every summer, and then we even take our kids every summer,
Awesome.
That's awesome.
and we'd go out.
It's a great experience for them, I'm sure, just to get out in the world and see what else is
Just being cultured, like in Utah.
in a
Like,
bubble.
we love it, but it's a genuine bubble.
Yeah.
Like it is a genuine bubble.
Yeah.
Here.
It's definitely a blessing to live here, but it's also a blessing to get out of that bubble and be exposed to, some great culture. But then also, I think it made me realize, like, growing up here, I'm like, I can't wait to get out of this place. And then I left for 15 years, and then I come back, and I'm like, man, this is the greatest place in the world.
It is the greatest place.
Yeah.
But to go and experience like you did somewhere else, there's that much more appreciation for it.
Yeah.
Than just being cultured.
Yeah.
And appreciating different backgrounds and cultures and people. It's just
do you guys
perspective.
Do you enjoy it, or have you made a decision you're going to enjoy it, or how did you set up the mindset with your family? Hey, we're going to leave for a few months and live in a new area. I mean, are they all awesome, cool, or has it been something you've had to like?
Now we don't, because I guess my goal the whole time was, all right, once my kids get in school, it's going to get hard.
Yes.
Right? Like I don't want to be uprooting them. They're going to have friends when they're young. Let's make it happen.
So it's a temporary situation.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Like I had that was the goal all along, was put myself in a position where I don't have to uproot the family. But in the meantime, obviously communication to me is huge. So with my wife being on the same page and saying, let's make the best of it and let's take advantage of the experience.
Yeah.
And she's as big a part of my success as anyone, is more than me, even with her support and picking up and uprooting and the attitude and always being on the same page and
how awesome.
Rooting me on.
I think for all of us, I know for me, for sure, my wife too, she never got enough credit for that. I think it's awesome you say that. I think for most people that have built businesses, our wives are probably amongst the biggest reasons we succeed, whether it's support or stuff like that. It's cool for me to hear that she was just totally supportive, huh? Do you think it was because you delivered, like you did what you said you were going to do? So maybe like next season
definitely helped, right?
Yeah.
So definitely helped in that aspect. And then I've worked with so many married couples where the wife isn't supportive.
Right.
Right. And the communication isn't there. And it cripples the salesman or woman if the spouse isn't on the same page.
Right.
I just feel bad. I'm like, man, that stinks.
Yep.
Right.
That is tough.
What do you think causes that a lot of times? Because I think we all see that in sales where, someone has a spouse and maybe there's been history or something. They said they were going to do something, didn't do, or whatever. But what do you think it is that causes that issue with a lot of people? Because I think it happens. I'm sure it happens a lot in your business. I know it happened a lot in my business. In fact, I would say it arguably one of the biggest challenges for someone who could be successful. A lot of times it was like they just weren't on the same page, and if they were, maybe it was a guy in my organization, whatever. He had the skills, he had the talent, he had whatever, but they just weren't on the same page. She didn't want him gone all the time or whatever, and so he just never felt the freedom to go do it.
Yeah, I think it's just the communication and the vision and like, hey, 3, 5, 10-year plan. And if we want things that most people don't have, we have to be willing to do things that most people aren't willing to do.
Amen.
That's it, right? Like you have to be willing to do those things. And we can choose hard now for easy later, or easy now for hard later. No one wants hard later.
Right. Like, I think painting that picture up front, right? And then making sure your partner's on board with you. If they're not, then you might need to work on that first.
100%.
Because I would argue that it would be easier to build a business, especially in sales, single than it would be with an unsupportive spouse, right?
100%.
I'm not telling you to leave your spouse. I'm just saying, make sure you work hard to get on the same page. And I think too, you obviously got results. That definitely helps, right?
Yeah.
When you go out and you make money and you actually start doing the things that you said you wanted to do, that helps. But you need some support initially.
Isn't that credibility though? I think a lot of times people want credibility in business or credibility in life, but that's what credibility is. And you need credibility with your spouse too. Like, hey, I'm going to do this, and then you go do it, right?
Yes.
And whether
that's follow through with it.
Yeah, whether that's in business or life or a relationship,
credibility, trust, and I think. I mean, and then along the way, I mean, it's not always going to go perfect. And I think what you're saying is the communication is huge, right?
Yes.
So along the way, hey, babe, here's how my day went. I mean, accountability to your partner, you know, I mean, they deserve to know. And I think it sounds like all of us have been very fortunate to have a spouse that hasn't just been like my wife doesn't just hold me accountable, but she actually is involved, and she sincerely wants to know. I've been blessed that
how
way,
things
right?
are going,
yeah.
But I would also say I have always done my best to do what I said I would do, and then if it didn't work out, to like, hey, this didn't work, but
you delivered.
I got it. I'm going to go. I got this.
Yeah, and I think for her, I just said, hey, like we're not going to be super balanced. Like we're not going to be that like everyone talks about balance.
No,
and in my opinion, I think to hit another level, you're going to hit a point where it's probably not
balance
gonna
is an active word. It's
Yes.
an action word. It's an action word.
It is a myth,
It's
right?
a myth.
Like, it's
There's
like, you're not.
It drives me insane when
Oh,
people say,
I hate it.
Like, there's no such thing as balance. Like, what is balance? Going to work 9 to 5 and
Oh,
then
it
never seeing
drives
your
me-
kids your whole life? And then,
Yes.
like, is that balance to you? Like,
Yes.
that sounds like mediocrity. Mediocrity, not balance.
Yes.
It's like, man, it's just.
No, it drives me insane. Like
Yeah.
when I deal with reps that I know are so good, they're like, I just need balance, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just need, like, we're gonna stay home this summer. Like we need balance. Like we just need more balance. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
Like you're doing the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah, you need more commitment.
Exactly.
You need to go all in on your
Yes.
goals and dreams, and you're designing your life. And balance seems like I need to let up in other areas or whatever.
100%.
Yes, I used to say the same thing. Like up front, I mean, for the first 4 years of our career, I mean, honestly, we didn't celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, nothing. And my
Just
wife wasn't.
grinding.
Yeah, and she wasn't mad at it. Right? She was just as a part of everything. Right? She was just as involved. And so when it came to those decisions, it was almost like neither of us were going to let up, you know, and then for those, 4.5, 5 years, we just like totally focused. And then after that, we were free.
Yeah.
And then it was at a point where now we could, tell our friends like, hey, it's Wednesday. Let's go to the Bahamas tomorrow. I can't. Why not? Oh, you got to go to work? Well, that's what balance does for you, I guess,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My experience with that was, I was really hardcore, right? Like I was very dedicated, very disciplined. My in-laws would always plan a vacation every 3-4 years.
Yep.
During the summer, I'm like, just don't plan. Like the summer is my time.
Yeah.
Like,
I made a you made a commitment, and this is a big thing, I think, too.
Yes.
You made a commitment early on that I'm going to go work during the summers. I'm going to provide for my family. And you can't plan something next year and think that I'm going to all of a sudden recommit
Yes.
to what you want me to do. I already made a commitment.
heaven forbid, like someone dies, right?
Yeah.
Then I'll show up to the funeral. But
Yep.
this is my commitment. Like family pictures. We had family pictures one summer, and I'm like, I'm not, like, I'm sorry. Like,
Can't make it,
I
yeah.
can't make it.
It's
They
a bad time of year.
Photoshopped me in,
Yeah.
like legitimately.
Yeah.
So my in-laws make fun. Like my brother-in-laws always give me a hard time. They're like, oh, we'll Photoshop you. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the level of dedication.
Yeah, and you get called out on that a lot, right? Sometimes
For
they're
sure.
like, oh, you're putting your business before family. It's like, that's actually not true. I'm actually putting family first. That's why I'm doing it.
100%.
And I used to always train on this because, there'd be people who go, I got a family reunion. I go, hey, listen, I mean, if you can break away for like a day and go say hi and just make it and come back and get back to work, and you feel like you can do that without it distracting from your, these first few years, by all means do it. Your family is the most important thing, and that's
100%.
okay. But and your wife might be upset that you're not, like my first couple family reunions, I missed them too, right? I mean, I'd show up for a day, say hi, and then I'd drive
Showed up
home.
longer than I did.
Yeah, and I used to train this. Your wife might be mad at you for a minute, but she'll sleep better at night because you're providing for the family,
Yeah.
right? And so I wanted to provide that security. And if you ask her today, she has never felt like she's been in a place where she hasn't had that security, right?
awesome.
So, I mean, and that was so important to me. Like when I got married to her and made a commitment to her parents, I'm going to marry your daughter. I promise you I'm going to come through for her, right? And I did that. It's just always been at the top of my priority list. So,
Well, and
that's-
another thing, I think when that too, like a lot of men for sure, they'll like make this commitment to their spouse, right? Like, hey, we're going to go win. Like in your case, we're going to go do summer sales, or in our case, we're like, hey, we're going to move to a new city and build a business. And when I told my wife that was a commitment that I made to her. And I wanted my wife to know that if I ever tell you I'm going to do something, that you're going to see me as the guy that I'm going to fulfill that promise.
awesome.
I'm going to do whatever it takes so that next time I tell you something, that you just go, oh, yeah, he's going to do it. Like,
Yeah, she knows.
yeah. Versus if I made this commitment, hey, we're going to go make it happen. And then all of a sudden something pops up, and it could be family reunion. It could be anything, right? All this stuff that pops up when you're en route to success. And for me, I always just wanted my wife to go, no, I committed to you and I'm going to do this. And she knew that when something popped up, Jeff's already committed. He already committed to me. He's not going to change that commitment. And I think that's what separates a lot of people who are successful in all areas of their life is you don't change this prior commitment that you made because of an emotion,
100%.
later on down the road, which is hard to do, right?
Yep.
So what do you think that has separated? Obviously, you've crushed it, man. So what do you think, other than like made a commitment, you had some goals, communication? Because in process, obviously, as you've won, you've had a great family. You've done all these things, right? We should talk about. You've stayed in good shape.
Yeah.
You're athletic. You've got a great family. You've made a lot of money. You've kept your spiritual life in order. So I think all these things that most people
Who's asking how you live a balanced life?
No, I'm just saying,
right?
none of it's balanced. You've done
I'm
it all,
teasing.
bro. Like, really, you really have.
100%.
And a lot of people haven't, right? A lot of people set out to do that, and then it gets challenging, things happen or whatever. So what do you think are a few things that have separated you to be able to complete that process? Because I've known you for a long time. And so what do you think it is? Because you've worked with a lot of guys who I'm sure are more talented than you, just like I've worked with a lot of guys more talented than me. But for some reason, there was just these few little things that I'm like, well, that's obvious. That's why, or this or that. So what do you think are some of the major things that you've seen that separated you?
Yeah, I would say I don't know, defining success is, to me, you have all these buckets, right? You have your spiritual bucket, your health bucket, your family bucket, your work bucket, and you have to make sure that those buckets are getting fed.
Yep.
And you have, to me, you have to have non-negotiables to make sure that some of those aren't getting completely neglected.
Right.
So for me, the spiritual side, I would always go in the summer. It's crazy, right? We grind 12 hours a day, Saturdays, grindy, Sundays. Everyone's like, dude, I'm laying by the pool.
Yeah.
I'm chilling. It's no, I'm going to church.
Yeah.
I committed, it was my non-negotiable.
Yeah.
To fill that bucket, right? I am going to church.
Love it.
Every Sunday.
Cool.
No ifs, ands, or buts. It's what I always did. My wife is really important to us. So it's what we did. That's making sure that spiritual bucket is being filled.
Yep.
So I would always look at all these buckets and have my non-negotiables of knowing, in order to make sure, once again, that they don't go neglected, that this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right. And just go make it happen. Don't make excuses, because it's easy to do that.
It is, man. So has there ever been any time in your career or in your life where maybe you just dropped the ball and you're like, dang, man, I messed up. I shouldn't have done that, or whatever it may be. Maybe you did make this, whatever. Maybe you did go to the family reunion for 3 days and you shouldn't have. Has that ever happened in your career? Or I'm
trying to think of one that stands out. But
we're good at forgetting those things.
I know, yeah, right?
People,
You gotta,
right?
yeah.
If your wife was there, she'd probably remind you, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. She'd have a list probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm trying to think of something where I had a big lapse.
Have you ever doubted yourself, wanted to quit, in the middle, maybe you even started making money and you're like, dude, I just don't know if I'm good enough, or whatever it may be?
Honestly, this last year, I got challenged pretty good business-wise, where our company had to make some changes with inflation.
Yep.
And they were kind of last-minute changes where a bunch of the sales reps were really, really mad.
Yeah.
Guys that I worked with, they're pissed in corporate, right? Thinking that these changes are going to totally hinder their performance and their income. And I had a lot of guys leave.
Yeah.
The grass is greener, right? So, of course.
What did you do to counteract that, or to help with that?
I doubled down. I doubled down with the trust with who I work with, and knowing, hey, I'm here.
How did you do that? Communication? What did you do?
Yeah, communication and then showing. Like I said, I promise you, no one will outwork me.
Yep.
Cool.
No one will outwork me. I'm in the office from this time to this time. I have your backs. You guys will see with different leadership. I almost said I want you to experience it. And guess who's coming back?
Yeah.
We
go
had
see what
this
else is we just talked about
conversation
yesterday.
But they're coming back man, okay, you're right.
This is, dude, it just tells me what an incredible leader you are.
Yep.
I think incredible leaders understand that good people that have the opportunity to become successful or win in life, they don't want to be controlled.
Yep.
And if you find a leader and you try to control them, it's almost like they run, right? And they never want to come back.
100%.
But if you find a good leader and maybe they make a decision that's not best for them right there, right? What a good leader will do is allow them enough space to maybe make that mistake and fall down, 100%. And then be there and care enough about the relationship for them to pick them back up and dust them off, if you will, and accept them with open arms, because I think we've all made mistakes, and we've all done stuff that we regret, especially, I think when you're in sales, you doubt yourself, or maybe you handle a situation wrong or whatever it may be. But then if you keep that relationship, people will come back and then they appreciate the opportunity they have more, not only with leadership, but also whether it's the company or whatever it may be, because someone gave them the freedom to make mistakes and then accept them with open arms.
100%.
Again, right?
Yeah, I think just not burning the bridge, like you said. Like you just don't control people to the extent. And then if they do cross you and they do decide to go elsewhere, like I was cut by some of them.
Sure.
Like they're my homies,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
Like literally cut.
Yeah.
And it was hard.
Yeah.
But kept it. And I'm rooting for them. Like I checked in on the summer on a lot of them. Like, dude, how's it going? Man?
Yeah.
Like a genuine, I hope you're doing well.
Yeah. It's hard to do that.
Hard to
when,
do that.
when you were hurt.
Hard.
We heard something else yesterday that kind of goes along with this that I thought was just really profound. That the saying was, "Great companies are bought, bad companies are sold."
Yep.
And it just reminds me of this with leadership, right? I would say great leaders can allow that ebb and flow of people because they're great leaders, right? Yeah. If someone leaves you temporarily and you're a great leader, chances are they're going to come back, because there's no one better.
Right.
If you're not that great of a leader yet, what are you doing to become a better leader instead of trying to coerce them into staying with you or
control?
Right? That control, you lose control when you try to control.
100%.
So I think that's
because leaders become great leaders by attracting a voluntary army, right? Of a group of people that voluntarily follow them. Because if not, right, if somebody has to follow you, that's not a leader, that's a manager or a boss or something like that. And there are people that are bosses that act like leaders and nobody treats them like a boss. They treat them like a leader because that's how they treat people, right? Tell me how you feel about this. I think either one of you, I think a lot of times when you have these situations with people, a lot of it is fear-based, where if you lose somebody in your organization, you try to control them or whatever it may be. A lot of it is like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I ever going to replace that person? Versus if you have skills, you understand you're improving, you double down on your commitments, you're getting better, all this stuff, that naturally you're going to respond in a way that you understand there's an unlimited amount of people out there, right? If you're running an organization of salespeople and your best guy quits, which your best guy never quits, otherwise it wouldn't have been your best guy, right? But your biggest person at that moment leaves, all it does is give you the opportunity to grow and get better if you're a great leader, right?
Yes.
If you're not, it's depressing, frustrating. But
Yes.
it takes us time to learn that. Have you ever been in that situation where maybe you lost one of your biggest producers outside of this year? You're just talking about maybe earlier on in your career, you lost a bigger producer and maybe handled it incorrectly?
Yeah, I've had that for sure. Where I said stupid things to him, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about burning that bridge and just learning as in leadership, and then the realization is everyone's replaceable to a certain extent too, right? Like if you lose someone, I know I can go find and help someone.
Yeah.
That has the raw talent and skill set with the help as being a great leader,
Right.
that they could fill that person's shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially if you're a great leader, you can develop pretty much anybody with the desire. Right?
100%.
I always tell everybody, the one thing I cannot teach you, I can teach you everything in our business, but the one thing I cannot teach you is desire.
Yep.
You either have it or you don't.
Yep.
Because if you don't have it, it's like pushing a wet noodle. You know?
That's facts.
It doesn't work.
No, Todd Peterson said something that was pretty profound that hit me. He said, I'm going to train and lead my group and my people to where they can go on with what they learn to be great, whatever if they do leave, right? Mm-hmm. But to treat them so well that they don't leave, right?
Yep.
But if they do, awesome.
And they make you look better. I think in Todd's example, Todd has all these great people. We've mentioned some of their names today. That when you meet these guys who were some of the founders of Vivint or Apex, right?
Yep.
That you meet these guys and they're incredible men, right? And a lot of those people that Todd personally worked with went on to become mega successful in other organizations, other companies. And for me, I look at that and go, wow, what an incredible leader Todd
100%.
was to be able to take these guys that didn't just succeed in the system that he created, but also those men were able to go out and be successful in a lot of other things and help a lot of other people make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
It really is a cool thing. I think he's done a great job of watching that.
Yeah, no question.
Happen.
No question. Yeah, I always was thinking, would think to myself when I was in training in financial services is, when am I good enough to where if my leader left, I'd still not just survive, but I'd also thrive.
Dude, you would say that every week.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. So
If I didn't show up tomorrow, would you still win?
Yeah. Would you just
amazing.
survive? Or would you survive and thrive? And if you start talking to your guys like that, and you start helping them realize, well, I have learned a lot from Mitch. I owe it to him to do all I can while I'm with him. And one day, because one day we're not all gonna, they're not gonna be with you, right? Yeah. And how cool is it to know that they can now go out and be successful, in spite of you. And outside of you and without your help.
Yeah, I think one of the terms I heard from you a lot, Brandon, is interdependency. Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it with or without you, but I'd rather do it with you, right? But if you're not there, I'm doing it anyway, right? Yep. And so we created that good interdependent relationship. I think you and I did a good job of that because, really at some point you're kind of like, hey, go run your organization. You ran your side of the organization. I ran my side of the organization.
Yep.
But then a lot of times we did really good working together and coming together. We never felt like a different leadership rather than we wanted to work together. We felt like we could win bigger together than we could separately. Right?
Yes. But then also knowing, like you were talking about, if you chose not to be with me or someone else chose not to be with me, to try to keep that abundant mindset, there's always somebody else, right?
Yep.
Instead of, oh man, no one could ever be as good as that person, or having that limited belief. Because there's so much out there. There's so many people out there that are so great. And if you keep that abundant mindset, there's always going to be somebody else who comes in and may not even only be as good, but may end up being a heck of a lot better. 100%. And you would have never found them had your best guy left because you were too dang comfortable, maybe, right? And then what's happened to me before too is the new guy comes and starts doing well, and the old guy comes back and wants to be part of it as well, right?
What's the best way to give an old dog new energy? Find a puppy.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, you introduce your new stud to your old stud.
Yes, so good.
No doubt. No doubt. So what else do you like to do for fun? What are some of your you're competitive. You said sports.
Big sports guy, yeah.
Like what kind of sports? All sports?
Basketball and football in college. I played both those. So.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I played basketball this morning. So I play a couple times a week. Still play City League just to be active, and I love the competitive. I love to compete.
Awesome.
So.
And how old are you right now?
34.
Okay. So you're still out there. I haven't played basketball in a long time. I used to play all the time, but I would probably, I don't know what would happen to me if I tried to go play basketball right now.
No, I'm already learning my bag. Like, as I'm getting mid-30s, I'm like, man, I got to stay in shape. I got to stretch. I got to definitely take care of the body at another level as you get older to still do that.
I feel good, dude. I feel better right now than I did even when I was 20.
Jeff's peaking over here at the 75 hard, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, dude.
This man is peaking.
I feel good. Yeah.
So cool.
I don't know. That's cool. Basketball. I didn't know you played football in college.
I did, yeah.
What position did you play?
Kind of a funny story. I came back from my mission. I played at Snow College,
junior
college, and then I transferred down here to Dixie State. I played a year, and I was playing flag football for fun with my brothers, right? And just City League flag football. And the offensive coordinator of the university, he had a team of like ex-players that had just graduated, right? Like that were just senior, like the receivers and corners, like they're stars. And we match up against them in flag football, and we just throttled them. Like our team.
Dang.
Awesome.
Like it was like 50 to like 10. Like anyway, he comes up, he's like, Mitch, he's like, I'll give you a full ride to come play football. He's like, come switch sports. He's like, you're too good not to.
Dang.
And I played quarterback in high school, right? So I didn't play receiver, but I'm playing receiver now.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing, like, I'm not trying to sound like cocky arrogant, but I'm like, dude, I'm pretty freaking good at this. Like, that would be fun.
Yeah.
And I was kind of getting tired. So I'm like, yeah, I'll play football. So I switched sports, and I hadn't put pads on since high school, which at that point was like 6 years ago.
Holy
Because of my mission and coming back. And so my first game in college football, I don't know if you guys played football in high school, but there's no hitting. Like there's no, in the high school, you're like doing drills and hitting each other and this and that. There's no hitting. Like you don't want anyone to get injured, right? So my first game, I'm like, looks like Troy Polamalu at linebacker. I'm like, dude, I'm going to get my head ripped off. So it was really just learning the game and just learning the sets and the plays. And
what an opportunity.
Yeah, that's
But I ended up crushing it. Like I ended up being first team all conference and just like really, really good at football, which I loved and was appreciative that I was able to play for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool, dude. I didn't know that. What a cool story. Shows if you're at the right place at the right time, give it your all, have fun, good opportunities open,
crazy.
right?
Yeah, it's just crazy how it all.
Yeah, how often do you think that
out.
happens? A coach happens to see you playing just a city league football and says, "Hey, you want to come play for?"
I would say it happens every time God's like directing your steps and you listen.
Yeah,
It is insane.
but what
Seriously.
are the odds, though? I mean, the odds are
so
one.
So what do you think came from that, other than just having fun playing football? I mean, there had to have been some cool stuff you learned from that process. What are some cool things maybe you learned or you look back on and go, wow, man, if I wouldn't have played football, this wouldn't have happened?
Yeah, I think that it starts at like still in a way, not like leaving the option open and not like I guess what how am I trying to say it? But had I not went and tried it, obviously I never would have like still given the option to do it and being open to change. So jumping over to football as far as the experience, the networking, like that was one thing for my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm around way more athletes and way more people a lot of them work directly with me now.
Yep.
So that was a cool opportunity. And then just the different coaches and coaching styles and being around, more mentors.
Awesome.
It ended up being dynamite.
So did you realize at that moment while you were playing football that like, dang, I can get, this mentorship and this coaching from these great, people? Were you paying attention to it like that, or you just having fun playing football and then later you looked back?
I went in having fun, and then it's like, man, these guys are here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like you start to realize
why people win.
Mm-hmm. and head coaches, like how hard it is to become a head coach.
Yeah.
It's grindy. Like if anyone that's ever tried to coach, they'll be the first ones to tell you.
It's kind of funny. I coaching my son's flag football team right now, and one of the kids on his team, his dad is Paul. Is it Peterson, the head coach of Utah Tech?
Oh yeah.
So his
Coach
son Emmett's on my store or on my team, and so
that's awesome.
No pressure, right? When I'm coaching him, I got the.
We were talking about this before.
He's out there breaking the coaching down, man.
Yeah. So I'm like
awesome.
I'm like a new coach. So anyway, we'll see how this goes when he comes.
What age is he?
9.
What's your boy's name?
Bridger.
Oh, Bridger.
Bridger
Cool.
Neal, yeah. So he's they've only had 2 practices. We're gonna throw in 2 more this week and then games start.
That's cool.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. So let me ask you this, dude. It sounds like that you have been pretty open to opportunity forever. I mean, since the beginning. Was that instilled in you by your parents? I mean, was it like, because a lot of people aren't, right? We know in sales, most people are closed. They're skeptical, closed-minded, one-directional, not open. Where do you think it came from?
My dad.
Okay.
Yeah. Like my dad is, I don't know. He just set as far as teaching me the way and showing me the way of financial, like talking financial opportunities. And he said either go be a doctor or get into sales and find a vehicle that you can control. That's
awesome.
Go make it happen.
What does he do?
Yeah.
So he did real estate developer.
Yeah. Yep.
So he developed a lot of Santa Clara.
Yeah.
He sold the land out where the new airport is. He owned all that land.
Okay.
So just a real estate guy.
I mean, your
Very
family, isn't your family one of the founders of Santa Clara? Weren't they like way back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So they came in and
That's cool, dude.
they came in and kind of settled into Santa Clara.
Yeah. I've been there ever since, and everybody's still there. Are you still in Santa Clara?
I'm right outside. I'm close. I'm St.
Your
George.
address is St. George?
Yeah, my address is St. George, but I'm like right next to Snow Canyon High School. Pretty close.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's cool. So your dad, because obviously a lot of your family has been successful. So there's been a lot of good thinking taught, my family. I'm glad that I get to be that change in my family, right? But it's cool for me to watch you guys grow up and, become successful in your own rights and just become great men. And you think a lot of that was your dad. So did he teach you these, business principles when you were young? Like when did he start talking to you about these
Honestly,
things?
I look back, you just don't realize when you're young, right? Like it's just your dad telling you stuff. So you don't really realize, but like we'd be fishing and I still remember in Lake Powell, this is in high school. He's like, son, when you're good, he's like, I'm out here fishing and I'm making money right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he starts teaching me about real estate. He started teaching me about rentals and rental income and appreciation and all these things I get back from my mission where you don't learn those life skills in high school. Like you don't
learn them anywhere unless you find a mentor.
Yes. Like you really don't. And so I get back from my mission and I do the landscaping, and then you start realizing, holy cow, I'm getting married. Life's expensive.
Yep.
And now it's like, okay, I'm going to really start picking his brain.
Yeah.
And all these teachings start flashing back that he taught me all growing up.
Yeah.
Of getting sales, like bet on yourself.
Yep.
Like bet on yourself.
Do you think there was a standard and expectation kind of set, whether it was said or just lived in your household, so that when you got to that age, you got married, you kind of just had this, just a healthy expectation to be, I guess, not average?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Like there was like, the expectation was.
Was it said or was it just set?
Modeled, maybe.
I think it was modeled, and honestly, I think it was. I don't know. I'm trying to think of it as far as said. Yeah, it was in a roundabout way. It's like, hey, we dominate. We're is the, I don't know, not necessarily the Frei name, but our family.
It's a culture.
It's a culture. It's like you find a vehicle and become the best.
Yeah.
At that.
Well, and your brothers think similar, right?
Yeah.
They think very similar. So, I mean, that's cool. How's your guys' relationship as you guys are competing? You know, I'm sure there's some competition knowing you
always
guys.
little competition.
Right? So how is that relationship now? Like, do you feel like, I'm sure that drives you and drives them too?
Yeah, it's healthy competition. It's just like anything where and I guess relating it to sports, they always bring in outside, like the stars, they'll bring in competition.
Yeah.
And competition is going to breed success.
Yeah.
And there's always been a little like inner competition. It's never like we vocalize what we make or anything like that financially, but it's kind of interesting looking at it. And now we work together. Like we just bought Warren Jeff's old house.
Oh, you did?
Out in Hilldale.
Really?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've
what
seen
is that, 40 apartments y'all turned it into?
50,000 square feet.
Okay.
And it's total like 50 units where he had all his wives. Mm-hmm. And as brothers, I found it on essentially the MLS, and I started looking at the cap rate and I'm like, it's kind of a funky property.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely weird. And we start running numbers, and Blake and Blair, obviously in real estate and really good and know the market really well. Mm-hmm. We buy it, and we are renting out every studio, unit in there as an apartment.
Sweet.
A 1-year lease. So it's been fun. It's been fun to work with them. And then we bought 100 acres out next to Sand Hollow recently as well.
Okay. Yeah. Good deal. I think this is so big because, I mean, people have a dream and a desire, the American dream, right? Live in a really nice neighborhood. And let's face it, it's much better to live in a nice neighborhood than a poverty-stricken neighborhood.
Right.
And
it's much better to raise your kids in that environment.
Better to raise your kids there. Everything about it is just better, right? And it's not just, I mean, people get caught up in, well, money's not everything, but it kind of almost is, because it allows you to do about everything, right? It allows you to buy time and freedom and get into the nicer areas where you have people in this neighborhood think different than people in maybe a neighborhood that's in a trailer park. I'm not saying that people are any more valuable.
Sorry, bro. I grew up there. It's different. I promise you, it's different.
But it is a different environment. Mm-hmm. And, I love talking to somebody like yourself who had an opportunity to grow up around that. It's such a valuable mindset. I'm sure you'd agree. And, where Jeff, where you grew up, I mean, fortunately, you got introduced to an environment, right? Yeah. I don't know. I just think this is huge, right? It's huge because you think a certain way, you present yourself a certain way because of that culture, and we all want that for our families. Yeah. So people that are listening in right now, they're going, if you don't have that in your life, how do you create that in your life? First, you got to have a desire you have to recognize that it can be done, I think.
Right.
And maybe this isn't where I want to. Look, I understand there's people that are totally broke and struggling financially, and they still are genuinely happy. We were talking about this yesterday, and that's awesome. I mean, that's number one, right?
100%.
Happy, fulfilled.
Wake up happy. Yeah.
That's phenomenal, right? And if that's all you ever want, that's fine. But I think if you can go, you know what? What about my kids when they grow up? Do I want them to have these same struggles, or would I like to be able to get them in a position where they can, like we're talking about with our people in our business, like them to be able to go out there and thrive and set them up So I just think learning these mindsets and getting around people that think this way is so crucial.
It is, dude. And for me, it's cool because Mitch, I think about your dad. It almost makes me emotional, dude. Growing up like I grew up, I just want my kids to have a good life,
Yeah.
And man, making the decision to win and the impact it has on your kid's life is sad to think that most people just give up, because I've seen you guys grow up, and the thing I respect about you guys, man, is you and your brothers always carried yourself with this like kind confidence. I don't know the best way to put it, but you guys had great people skills. You always treated people really good. You were popular in school, but you were still great to everybody. And so it's cool to see the transition in your guys' life. But now that I'm older, I realize, like, man, your parents had to have been incredible people. I don't know your parents, but I know you guys enough and watch you being raised. And so for me, I always look at it like I have to be like your parents, right? And then I look at you, and that's why I get emotional, because I think, man, I want my kids to turn out and think like you do and go, my dad taught me these things, or my mom taught me these things, and just have a solid life, right? Which is why we do this, because I think I feel fortunate enough to be putting, you guys had great parents. They both raised you, great environments, poured into you. I love my mom. My dad's passed away, but I just didn't have a good upbringing. It just wasn't in the cards for me, right? But meeting people.
I was showing Jeff this yesterday, because Jeff, as you're talking about this, right? And I'm looking at just look at those two images, right? It's two images. Those that are listening in. There's one that's calm and there's one that's ego, right? And the ego's like all sporadic, and the calm's like nice and calm. Yeah. And the way I'm hearing you explain, knowing Mitch growing up, popular guy, just good guys. I would imagine you recognize him as this calm.
No doubt.
And you were probably more this.
Very much
back
so.
then, right? Because you were trying to get out of that. You didn't know how to.
No, I was egotistical, aggressive, like I think, like growing up in a trailer park, you almost, it's like this internal thing where you just don't feel value, and like your whole life you're like, I just wanted a Ferrari, dude. It was like, because then I felt like if I drove a Ferrari,
made it.
Yeah, or maybe everybody thinks like, oh, this kid isn't a trailer park kid, or maybe I have some value in my life, realizing that as I got older, I've been able to buy a Ferrari for a long time, never bought one, But I think that, it was like this, just like always wanted to prove myself. But I think a lot of it, now that I get older and realize it was because I didn't have these great people around me just teach me like, hey, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. It's just who do you want to be?
Yep.
Like if you act in accordance, that's who you become, right?
How much courage does it take you to make that change, though? Because when you have ego in the way, it takes a tremendous amount of courage. Yeah, I look at
your story, Jeff,
right?
and it is incredible.
Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate it.
Like, because I play basketball at Snow College, where I'm playing with guys with backgrounds, that rough upbringings from Philly, from Jersey, and to break that mold, like it's so ingrained. That's just who they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I get emotional. How fortunate for my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I work with guys where they're just taught, dude, 9 to 5. Like guys won't come and risk.
Right.
It's not even a risk to come and do my job.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But just risking their ego, right?
Yeah, and they've been taught like, no, like their parents.
Yeah. Rather than their parents teaching them like, hey, go for it. You can do this. I believe in you. You got this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how you win.
Like that's how you bet on yourself. Like,
yeah.
And it's crazy that what you just said really hit home. When you have kids, and you want them to win. Like, that's it. Like but just be good, be kind.
Well, I think when you say that, like I remember Brandon told me early on in my career, I would have people challenges because I just thought every problem was a nail and I had one way to handle it, and that was with a hammer. Whack, right? Yeah. And I remember I was having some people problems and I just handle them like I always handle everything, with anger and aggression, like let's just fix this, And I remember Brandon one time told me, he said, Jeff, you need to remember to treat your people like they're your children. right? And if you love them like your children could tell you, I hate you today, and it doesn't change the way you feel about them, how you're going to respond to them.
So good.
You don't even care, right? It's just like whatever my child, I love them so much. Doesn't matter what they say. It matters how I feel about them, and that's going to change my action. It helped me with leadership so much because I genuinely, after I changed my perspective, I wouldn't work with somebody that I didn't want to look at them like that. Like, hey, if I'm going to pour my life into you, I want to build a friendship and a camaraderie and a lifelong relationship where we can like love each other. You know what I mean?
That is awesome.
And you know that I've got your back, you got my back. And I think that as I started, developing leaders, it made me feel like, during that whole process, that if you build relationships, you treat people good, you pour into them, they're going to do the same thing for you. And then obviously you have children, and then I didn't have children at this time. So Brandon did, I didn't. But then I start having children, and then it just clicks. It's like it made sense to me, but now it's like I understand it. There was a difference between learning something that he taught me, and then I have children, and I see my children, and then I understand it. And then also another thing it did for me is I genuinely wanted my people to be better than me. And I was never threatened by somebody who came into my organization who was better than me. It didn't threaten me, right? It was like, think like you want your kids to be better than you, right?
You're celebrating that.
Yes.
I just listened to the Go Giver.
Great
book. The book.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Like talking about just giving and wanting people to, I want people to win so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. Like I'm going to do whatever. Like I don't want anything in return. Like I just want to do everything I can to show you the way and help you. And let you fall on your own, let you learn. But if the desire is there, the same with my kids, like it's going to be hard. Like that's the thing that my daughter was struggling with going to school yesterday. And it's just having a talk of like, you have to learn to love doing hard things.
Yeah.
Like
what a lesson that is, right?
It's so
serious.
Yeah. Like embrace that. Like the obstacle is the way. Another great book, right? Like this is a challenge that you have right now.
Yep.
Let's embrace it. Let's learn from this. This is awesome.
My wife, she's homeschooling right now, so we do half homeschool and half they go to school. So,
nice.
So a lot of times they'll be like, I don't want to go to school. I just want to, I do my homeschool. That's all. It's almost
great.
every
I didn't
day.
know you could do that.
Yeah,
half and half. That's awesome.
Yeah, that way they kind of get a taste of both.
Yeah, that's great.
And every day, it's like every day. I'm like, so Bridger, it's okay to not want to do something and still do it. Like, that's life. That's just how it goes sometimes. And teaching that lesson.
Like working out.
Yeah.
Never before working out, I'm like, I want to do this. Most of the time I don't, like, especially leg day, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Still do it.
Yes.
No doubt.
Yeah. And you love that you did it.
Yes, it's the result. Yeah, afterwards you feel grateful that you faced that hard challenge.
Yes.
Definitely. I think something important too is as we're talking about some of this stuff is when our kids do something, we can, or somebody in your business does something and we take it personally. Oh, they did that to me. Like our kids don't do it to us, right? And you got to look at it two ways. One is you got to go, okay, there's something wrong there with their life, and that's why they're acting the way they're doing. But two, what can I do also on my end? Like if somebody leaves your business, we've been talking about this, right? Someone leaves your business. Sometimes we'll go, oh, it's all on them. It's just because they're just not a good fit. Well, that might be true, but also what can I do as the leader of the business and as a business owner to maybe I need to get better too. So I always try to look at both sides. It's not always.
No, I had a big self-reflection this last year of, okay, what could 100%.
Yeah.
And then you start realizing, wow, I still have a lot of work to do
all the time.
100%.
Because, like we've all had those difficult situations where somebody does leave and it does hurt. And so we act out, right? Just like they might be acting out and we blow the relationship. We're like, and then years go by and you go, God, I blew that.
That was stupid.
They would have come back or we would at least still have a good relationship, and you call them back years later. I just want to apologize because, you blew it,
it's
right?
eating at you and you realize that a big part of it was your own fault.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Yeah. It's leadership. And I think, people who become great leaders see that. Man, I should have handled this differently. I'm going to own it, take responsibility, and then change it.
Yep.
Versus a victim. Hey, this is what happened. It's somebody else's fault. It was funny, man, because I would, in our business, a lot of times we have someone recruit somebody. They would introduce me. Man, this guy's going to be a stud. Man, he's so awesome, blah, blah, blah. And you show up next week. I'm like, hey, where'd your guy go? Oh, man, that guy's a loser. I'm like, well, what happened to him? He was a stud before you met him.
A week ago, yeah.
Like, before you met him, he was a stud, right? Now, it's like, what happened to the guy, And I think a lot of times it just really is. It's that new recruiter learning how to become a leader and provide value that, wants someone to come back and get more, and this is why I've always been crazy about reading and self-improvement, is because I tell my guys all the time, look, if you're not hungry, you don't go to the refrigerator, right? And if you are hungry and you go to the refrigerator and there's nothing in it, what do? Go somewhere else, right? And people are the same way. So I wanted to be a leader where someone was hungry for value and knowledge, that when they needed it, either I could provide it to them personally, or I could find the resource they needed.
Yeah.
Your fridge was full.
Yeah, that's exactly. Good. That I was constantly, and it wasn't always like that. It was just, but I tried to, over the years, just put myself in a position just to provide value.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So where do you go from here with business? You just continue to grow the company. What's the goal? What are some of your goals in the near future here and long-term future?
To me, real estate, real estate's king, right? So I sit here and think, how can I use this vehicle to continue to pile on real estate? I've always had in the back of my mind, I want to build like my dream house with my daughter. My oldest kid's like 10, 12 years old. I want to be in a spot where I can be there, and the flexibility and freedom is like legitimately there, and the security is there. And I know how crucial the first, 5 to 7, these first 5, 7, 10 years of my business are to give me that chance.
Yeah.
And to pile on the assets to later be able to really do the things we love. Right.
Yes.
And
Travel.
I look in this room, man. I'm just literally jealous.
We got to go hunt, man.
This is incredible. Like at each animal, there's memories, right? And
exactly.
Being able to do memories with your family, being able to legitimately go say, let's go to the Bahamas.
Yep. Like,
to me, I want to put myself in that position, and I want to help others get in that position. So the direction, is just take full advantage of, I'm looking at the next 3 years of the vision of the company.
Yep.
And trying to go PE and then public, and
awesome,
doing my very best to maximize the opportunity.
That's very cool.
And help my guy and help my people that I work with.
Yeah,
see the same vision. And do the same thing.
It's hearing you talk about. These are big goals. Big goals you have and aspirations, and it's unfortunate that more people don't have bigger goals. I understand why they don't. It's because they don't believe they could ever hit them.
Yeah. Or surround themselves with people who are either chasing those things or have a desire to chase those things, or already accomplished them.
I'm trying to work on expanding my goals and vision, because I go, man, I want a plane. Well, why don't I go get busy and get a plane then, right? If I really want that, and we're talking about this room and hunting. My boys are going to get older. I want to be able to go to places like Alaska and stuff with them, but that's not cheap, right. And you need the time and you need 100%. The freedom. And it's not just the money to go, but just the experience when you get out. If I could go to Alaska and do a Dall sheep hunt with Bridger when he's 18, 19 years old and be out there for 2 weeks with him.
Can you imagine? It's a lifetime. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, why not?
That's what life's about.
And he'll never forget it. Kind of like you fishing with your dad at Lake Powell.
Exactly.
It's literally what life's about. Put yourself in a position to be able to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. And doesn't that make all the no's, all the rejection, all the hard times, it makes it seem easy. I think that's why as guys, we forget, right? We just forget these things, and I think it's a natural coping response, right? We just forget all the hard times. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. My wife will remind me all the time. She goes, hey, you remember that person? Or there's a, like, I totally forgot.
It's like what characteristic trait is that level below us missing to not have the same desire to show up to the office?
It's like a tiny little thing, right?
It's like, what is it? It drives me insane. That's the hardest thing with leadership.
It's an intangible thing.
Yeah.
It drives me insane. So we asked another president of sales, and he's like, dude, it's just hunger. Like, they're not hungry.
It's that desire. It's like, I remember Dennis Waitley, one of my favorite authors. He wrote the book Psychology of Winning. He's an incredible speaker too. He gave his speech one time. He said, I went to go visit the Maasai tribe in Africa, and I asked him, what is your definition of motivation? He said, when your belly is empty, you're motivated. After you eat, no motivation. it's like just finding that thing that keeps that hunger, right? Whether for you it's a plane so you can go hunt, or for me it's just like total freedom, you know. So I think different things drive different people. But what is it like? What? And I think that's a key trait of a great leader, is figuring out what is it that drives this individual and learning how to just stoke that fire.
Yes.
You know, and that's a hard thing to do, because naturally we're selfish. Human beings are naturally selfish no matter what. So constantly it's going to be a battle a leader has to remember to fight, is like, hey, I got to get myself out of here and figure out, like, what can I do? What do I have to give to this individual to be able to stoke that fire of motivation
100%.
inside of them, right?
Yep.
It's a hard thing, but if you can figure it out and do it consistently long enough,
you'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really capturing the heart of the person, trying to get in there, right? And intimately know them, which got to spend time with them and see what makes
100%.
them tick. But yeah, there's just nothing you can find that makes them tick. They're just, they're full.
That's why, man, I'm always just trying to figure out, like I tell everybody, there's one thing I can't teach you, man, is just desire. But if somebody has, that's why it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter your education, doesn't matter anything. If you have desire, you can win.
Yeah.
And then the opposite is just as true. You know, I think a lot of very successful parents almost steal that desire from their children by coddling them, giving them everything. And again, man, I know you grew up and you guys had a great life growing up, and I just have so much respect for your parents, watching you guys grow up, the way you guys carried yourself, because I know how you grew up, and it took a lot of intentional effort for your parents to pour that into you without ruining you too.
Yeah, it's crazy looking back, and just what you just said. But my grandpa had like 200-300 head of cattle, and we're just expected to go work. Like,
that's what you
you
did.
show up like 6 a.m. Saturday morning, we're hauling hay.
It's cool.
Awesome.
Like, you're there. We're branding cattle. We're castrating. Like,
Yeah.
I learned to love hard work,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't an option.
Yeah.
Like, you're there. Like, you're working.
Hard work is not an option no matter what, right? Unless you, I mean, even if you're broke, you're still going to end up working hard just to live, right? Or you can
100%.
fall in love with hard work and go do it
It's
a lot.
harder to not do hard work, right? If you
It
don't do
is.
hard work, life's
Really
going to be
is.
harder.
And it's depressing.
Yes.
I think when you work hard and you love it and you learn to just love that process, it feels rewarding. You lay your head on the pillow at the end of the night. You might be tired. You might be sore. You might be mentally exhausted, but you feel good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love looking at that as like even health. Like, being healthy and being fit is hard.
Yeah.
But the opposite is harder.
Harder.
Yes.
It's harder.
And more expensive.
It's more
Yes.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, it's anyway, being married and having a good relationship is hard. You got to
Yes.
work at it.
Yes.
Divorce is harder.
Absolutely.
Yes. And a lot of times when you choose that harder option, it's also harder on other people around you.
Yes.
Right? Because if you choose that path, you know, of whether it's, you know, like divorce, like you were saying, or being overweight, it does impact society, right? If, you know,
100%.
two parents get divorced and these kids grow up without,
Trickle effect is real.
but by making the choice to do hard things, by being healthy, it makes our society better. It inspires people. Like I promise you, there are people that see somebody who's in good shape. They're not in good shape. They just see that, and one day they go, you know what? I'm going to change my life. I'm going to go get in good shape.
Yep.
Nobody had to say anything. Nobody had to do anything, but you made a positive impact on somebody just because you made a decision to do hard things.
Yeah. Like my brother Blair, he's like, I'd watched him over the last couple of years, gotten in really good shape.
Yeah.
And indirectly, I'm like, well, geez, Blair's doing it. you
Yep.
know, like,
Yeah.
Rubs off.
kind of rubs off. Like I'm going to step my game up.
Yeah. It's
know?
awesome.
So
Yeah, people are always watching, and we don't even realize it.
it's crazy. I watch you on Instagram. I'm like, Jeff's going beast mode.
He's crazy.
man.
It's like every time I
Like
go to a
Jeff-
workout, he goes, "Hey, did you throw the 20-pound vest on?" I'm bro.
Jeff's going beast mode,
thanks,
man.
dude.
So
I
it's cool. Like, you just don't realize the impact that you have a lot of the times.
Yeah. Well, I don't honestly at that, because I don't know. I don't ever post on social media that much. I don't love being on there.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Yeah, I think it is. I like social media for it. Inspires me, right? I see,
100%.
You know, that's how I use it. Just scrolling through, finding things that
Yeah.
inspire
Inspirational
me.
stuff.
Yeah,
Good influencers.
Yeah, for
fun.
sure. It's a positive way to use a tool, I guess, that can be a scary thing too.
Like anything, right?
Yeah,
Used
for sure.
Good things and bad things, and
Yeah.
depends how you use it.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, today has been incredible. I'm so
So
excited
good.
you came. I think so many people are going to get so much from this, dude.
No, I'm appreciative.
I was going to ask real quick, are you always looking to recruit good people, I'm assuming?
Yes.
So how do people find you if they are looking for an opportunity and they want to work with you?
Instagram.
Okay.
Yep.
What is your Instagram?
Instagram, Mitch Frei 10.
Spell your Frei because it's not F-R-Y.
Frei.
Okay. Mitch Frei. Okay. Good.
Mitch Frei 10.
So at Mitch Frei 10.
Yep.
All right.
On Instagram. So
Good.
That's it.
There's people out there want to work with you. They just need to know how to find you.
I'm excited to get to know you guys at a higher level.
Absolutely. Me too.
Just appreciative to be on here, and let's get a hunt lined up.
I'm serious about
Let's
hunting.
get a hunt lined up.
Do you coyote hunt by chance?
I've been, yeah. I'm not.
Right.
I would love to go.
Yeah,
that's something easy that we can go do.
Yeah, it
is. That'd be fun.
I'm pretty particular who I let go with me. I'm like, I only take a few people. So yeah. You know,
awesome.
I got my
That's
spots.
awesome that you're big into coyote hunting.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, we went and got one. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I went and killed one,
yeah.
That's sweet.
It's
What gun do
tough.
you use?
So I just started using it's a Desert Tech. Have you seen those? They're actually a bullpup style.
Huh.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
And I'm shooting a 22 Creedmoor for coyotes this year, but it's cool because you can swap out the barrel. So I've got a 22 Creedmoor barrel, a 6 Creedmoor barrel, and a 6.5 PRC I can put in for like elk or deer.
Yeah.
And just a quick swap, and it's 3 rifles in one. So that's what I'm using like this year. It's cool. I'll show
That's
it to you.
cool.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys a question. I always love this. What's your definition of success?
That's a great question. Whatever it takes for you to be happy and fulfilled is what I would say.
It's awesome.
Just off the cuff. Yeah, whatever that is.
Jeff?
I would say when I meet God, that he's proud of my effort.
Ooh, he's always got to one up me.
That is so good.
That's a good one. You can't top that one.
So I mean, that's
the
just
top.
it. Like I think that everybody, like you said earlier, right?
That's
Like
so good.
It's really good.
some people just want different things, and I didn't understand that early on in life. And the older I get, the more I appreciate that everybody wants different things, and that's awesome. It's what makes us unique. So I just, one day when it's all said and done, meet my maker, I say, man, I'm proud of the effort.
That's cool.
It's good.
So
What's yours?
How about you?
Yeah, I think waking up happy and fulfilled is the simple answer. Very similar to yours.
Yeah.
Waking up
Awesome.
happy, like being able to wake up happy and fulfilled,
Yeah.
and then just filling your buckets.
That was good. I like that.
I think filling your
Great
buckets
analogy.
is.
Because I think your buckets
really
always
good.
have a hole in them because they're always pouring out too, right?
Yeah.
So you got to continue to refill them because they're always leaking.
Just being real with yourself, right? Like being real and honest with yourself, David Goggins style.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Awesome.
Being honest. So anyway, appreciate you guys.
Really
taking
good.
the time.
Appreciate you. Thanks so much for your time. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
great.
dude.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Yep. Cool.